Hi, I'm a professional ballet dancer, and for fun, I'm going to review all the scenes from this movie called Leap, or Ballerina. It's a ballerina movie. But we're going to start with the dance battle scene. Before we get started, please subscribe. Thank you.
It's like you need more training. You were nowhere near ready.
That movement is called a tilt, and it's not part of the classical repertoire of ballet. Very much so contemporary, and very much so like modern-day commercial contemporary. You really wouldn't see that in any other style of dance. This next step here is called pas de guru, which means running step in French. This is sometimes mistaken for bourre, but it's actually pas de guru. For women on point, pas de guru always looks like that. It can also look like this. But pas de guru is most commonly a transition step. Let's keep going. Those are called chaîné turns, and she did them ridiculously fast. Quite impressive, actually. The only people who do chaîné turns that fast are like the best professionals. So we had great speed from the get-go in the chaîné, and the pura bra is really nice. Look at the arms. Perfect first position. But I have one problem. She's in sixth position with her feet. She turned in. And you don't turn in ballet. You do chaîné in either first position or fifth position. Ladies oftentimes do it in fifth. In my school, men were taught first, ladies were taught in fifth. Sixth position doesn't exist. And I've heard some people say, oh, well, I was taught in sixth, then you were taught wrong. I'm sorry. You don't turn in, ever. There used to be steps that you could turn in, like men could turn in double tours and passe derrière if they wanted to. That's not a thing anymore because people are pushing the standard and they're becoming turned out. So to keep up, you have to turn it out. You have to. Let's keep moving. Here we have pas de chat, battement, double step over, jeté. Okay, interesting. If you watch very closely, you can see that that combination of steps was taken almost directly from Linktree Act 1 of Don Quixote. Now this is very interesting, because the ballet of Don Quixote was choreographed in 1869 by Marius Petipa. Louis Méhant, the ballet master in this movie, did not come to Paris to train under Lucien Petipa, the brother of Marius Petipa, until 1848. Lucien Petipa himself would serve as director of the Paris Opera Ballet from 60 to 68, followed by Henri Bustamante, who served from 68 to 69, almost 70, I believe. And he would be succeeded by the ballet master we see in this movie, Louis Méhant, who served from 70 until his death in 87. Now recall that Louis Méhant died relatively early. He lived until 58 years old. In this movie, he looks very young. He has no gray hair and seems pretty sprightly in his behavior, which would make me think that this is earlier in his career as artistic director of the Paris Opera Ballet, which wouldn't chronologically make sense in history. Especially in his first years, it would have been impossible. But Nick, if the ballet was choreographed in 69 and he assumed office in 70, isn't that enough time for the ballet to grow and for the choreo to become spread among the students? No, because Don Quixote was restaged in 1871. Now, I looked at the description of the movie itself, and it said to take place in the 1880s, except Louis Méhant died in the mid to late 1880s, so I'm not sure if that's particularly accurate. Simultaneously, he's teaching the young students here, which wouldn't make sense for an artistic director, especially not of one of the most grand companies in the entire world, which makes more sense once we remember that he actually served as ballet master from 70 to 73, and from 73 and on until his death, he would be the official artistic director. And given that they introduced him as ballet master and choreographer, it would make more sense that he was the ballet master and chief choreographer at that time, which he was.
Who is that?
You are joking, right? It's Louis Méhant, ballet master, world-famous choreographer, the man who performed the most fouettes ever in a single solo.
So while this movie was meant to be taking place in the 1880s, it's much more likely it took place between 1871 and 1873, because those are the only years possible in which that choreography could have been available to the students, and which Méhant would have been ballet master and chief choreographer. So we have a 2-year span. Moving on. She does what looks like a chaîné to step over, to then fourth position on point, six on ferme, battement, 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 and then more chaînés from tombe fourth. Now, she's doing weird choreo again, but her jump strength is actually off the charts. In classical ballet, I cannot think of a single time in any ballet ever where you do six on ferme from fourth. It almost always comes from fifth. That's the case for most jumps that come out of that position, like pas poisson or six en ouvert. But I want to take a closer look at her position. Her split is perfect. Her back leg is turned in, which is the only technical issue, but her feet are good. She has an oversplit, and it's very easy for her. She's very high up, too. This jump strength and coordination for a girl her age is unheard of. Judging from that alone, I can see she's fit to be the next Natalia Sipova. So, weird technique, but crazy ability. I guess that makes sense because she's self-taught, but at the same time, you don't get strength to hold your lines like that from being self-taught. It just doesn't happen like that. You can tell when someone's like self-taught or if they don't have training because their knees are going to be soft, they're not going to know how to use their feet. Like, there are moments like that when it's harder to use your muscles in the proper way, and you don't get that from being self-taught. That only comes from classical training. So she's dancing like a classically trained dancer with a lot of experience who's choosing not to dance classically. Though I understand that she's self-taught. Moving on, take a look at her transition here. Look, now she's doing chaîné in fourth position. It looks like she's trying to do fifth, but this comes off more as fourth. That's a common mistake, though, I can excuse. But what I want you to see is how she transitions out of that chaîné. She comes up through passe to go down to a deep fourth position. That is like unreasonably hard. We do it in class sometimes because it's a great thing to practice to keep your center when you're in chaîné. But it's one of those steps that like doesn't look hard, but oh man, like it is so challenging for no reason at all. But a great exercise. I actually recommend you do it. It'll keep you very on your leg. But this is more good info. We see she is a natural center. We get Mahal making the Riz face. Then we get this great shot of the two of them jumping slow motion. That's the solo shot from Lorenzia, and that is an Italian para shot. This is insane. Those are called tombe coupe jetés, and they're doing them on the seats. Oh, foul play. Now that's insane for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're doing it on top of the seats, which is, I'm just going to ignore that for a second. But secondly, tombe coupe jeté, which is the step they're performing there, is typically a men's step. Now, that's not to say that women can't do it. They absolutely can. While ballerinas can do tombe coupe jeté en manège, and some of them very well, think Madeleine Wu, who's principal with the Royal Swedish Ballet, they typically don't do them in the same formation as men on stage. Notice that Natalia Osipova in the video I just showed did a different combination of steps. She did the tombe coupe in the middle of the other tombe coupe for the jeté. However, this early in their training, these girls would probably not know how to do this step because it's just not part of the female training. The same way that I'm not very good at Italian fuertes on points because it's not part of my training, they probably wouldn't know how to do that step because it's just not part of their training. That said, they did it, and they did it well, so clearly these are incredibly promising dancers. Now for the next part, they also did them on top of the seats, which is a level of coordination and precision that I just don't have as a dancer, and I'm jealous of them that they do have that. That said, incredibly dangerous. I wouldn't recommend doing it. Again, like that's no longer realistic, so these are stunt dancers at this point. Like it's crazy. I'm quite impressed, frankly. I want them in my company. If I was a director, hell, put them both in my company. They'll be principals off the bat. Also, kind of a foul move for her to pull the other girl's hair like that. I don't understand they're fighting, but still. At the same time, though, she really shouldn't have her hair in a braid down her back. It should be in a bun. Wouldn't have gotten pulled if it was in a bun. That's all I'm saying. Next, they pop out of the store doing chaîné turns again. Super, super fast. Again, great chaîné turns from the both of them. But their spots, I gotta say, were not very good. When ballet dancers turn, we spot our heads. Now, while they were spotting, I would have preferred a bit more action in the head because when you're doing chaîné, you really need to focus on the spot where you're going. It's not like a pirouette where you can kind of rely on sensation. You're not supposed to in either a pirouette or chaîné, but you kind of can in pirouette, and you really cannot in chaîné. You really need to stay focused on that area, so a bit more spotting in the head would be nice. Also, they both opened their arms from first to second, and they went faster still. That's not how centrifugal force works. If you open a position, you're going to go slower. It was a contemporary pirouette, not a classical one, but the physics remain the same. When I opened my leg, I spun slower, and I floated around. It's actually a very nice look. Another interesting thing to note is that these girls are turning left. Watch it again. Right here, look, they're both turning left. That's interesting because just like in writing, the left side is the non-dominant side in ballet. Out of every 10 dancers, I would say that 2 or 3 are probably left turners. Maybe less. I'm actually a left turner, and it's like a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because everyone does everything to the right, so in any ensemble piece ever, I have to do everything to my bad side. But on the same token, I end up working both of my sides a lot more than a standard right turner might, and I end up being very ambidextrous in my steps, which is great for choreo, and also just for dancing in general. But it is unlikely that these two young students would both be left turners, especially considering they don't always turn left. So we're led to assume that they are both incredible ambidextrous dancers, very promising students. This video is getting really long, so subscribe to me, and I'm gonna make a part 2 soon, okay? Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe for more crazy ballet breakdowns like this.